Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry, from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash.
I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member.
And Dale Hummel.
Dare to think for yourself.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
You're excited about today's episode, Ryan?
Sure.
We should skip current events and go straight to the main topic.
There's no current events. Anyway.
No Hunter, guilty.
That's
guilty.
it. That's the only current event there is.
No Joe in a delusional death stare during Juneteenth.
Okay, I don't even understand why everybody's all worked up about that. Okay, like
I can explain why.
Okay, why? Because I don't get it.
It's have nothing to do with him dancing or clapping. It's just for a very long period of time, he looked like he was gone. I don't know where. I mean, it just nothing. Emotionless, like he's drugged.
You have never zoned out in your life.
I have.
Okay.
I don't know that I would try to not do it when I'm in a public place and probably as a president. I would make an effort not to.
Of all the stupid shit that he has done, and of all the things that you can tell that the man is in severe cognitive decline, that did not bother me at all.
That is just another one of those signs of how bad it is. It's not that individual moment. It's just piling on and piling on. And I keep thinking it can't get worse, his cognitive abilities, but they do.
I mean,
and it continues.
That little instant. That bothers you and that bothers the world or whatever. Him kissing his little grandson on the lips yesterday, that bothered me way worse.
I did not see that.
That bothers me way worse. And I get that some people do that and that's fine or whatever, but this man has like a problem with
maybe
kissing
it's just
and
the way
touching small children.
Yeah, I don't know. While we're on this topic, and maybe we've discussed this in private before, maybe on the podcast. What about when you go back to the past debates 3+ years ago, 4 years ago, when we'd see pictures of an earbud, or we assumed that he was on something, caffeinated or drugged to be more alert. All of these things. Do you believe there's any truth to that?
I don't know, and there's no rules, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me because there aren't rules.
I'm not saying
they don't drug test him. They're whatever. So if they want to put an earbud in, then the other people should do the same. Like if there are no rules, so cheat.
I would like to know if he is being stimulated on some form of drug, because obviously you would assume that's not going to happen every single day of his life. Well, it isn't, because we can watch him. It just isn't.
No, they don't. I'm curious about that. They just do it when he has to be out there and like.
But do you believe that? Do you believe that they're doing something like that?
Well, I think there are. Yes, my opinion is that there are huge energy and speaking differences of like the night of the State of the Union, and then when he's, I don't know, speaking at some little thing where everything's slurred and, none of it makes, I mean, like every word for 2 whole sentences is slurred and mumbled and whatever. Yes. So clearly it is not because they're just back there pumping him up with "Go Joe, go." Yeah, no, I think
I think it's beyond caffeine. I think it's probably, I believe there's
I'm
something.
Sure it's an adrenaline shot or something like that it's going, but
yes.
I go back, see, this there are no
Are you
rules.
opposed to Trump asking for a drug test? Are you opposed to
they're
that?
not going to give him one because there are no rules. No, I'm not opposed of it, but they're not going to give him one. And he has already said that he wants him to take a drug test. Here's my thing. Trump needs to get on the debate stage with this man no matter which way he can. And if that is going to open the door for them to say, well, screw you, convicted felon, we're not going to debate you anymore, he needs to shut up.
I don't I don't know. And that leads me to another direction here that what about, did you hear Dana Perino's, the former press secretary, now Fox News analyst? Obviously, you're familiar with her.
Yes,
And I
she's
can
one of my
paraphrase
favorites,
this.
but I don't know if I've heard.
Yeah. Did you hear when she put into context, and I wish I should have pulled it up and stated word for word. She basically was talking about what happens when that big decision comes in to Joe, that he's got to make a choice within seconds, whether we launch nukes or whatever it may be. We can use that as an example. And she was very genuine and very sincere about this and stated it so well. So I don't even want to try to quote her because I would screw it up. But the fact that where he's at in his cognitive ability and just lost out in space, doesn't appear as though he can make a decision. How does that work, Ryan? If and this is an extreme situation, but there's many more situations, the world being as unstable as it is right now, whether it be a terrorist attack, whether it be China or Russia launching a nuke, whatever it may be, and he literally has to make that split second decision or within seconds.
So I'm not disagreeing with you, but here's my thing on this. And I'm not just saying just in the movies or the TV shows, but also in documentary stuff. None of the decisions are made in split seconds. They get him up, they take him to that room, the situation room, and there's 20 freaking generals and whatever and all this stuff. There isn't a decision made in a split second.
See, I disagree that most decisions, no, but and there maybe has not been in the past, but that is something that to me is on the table, that it can happen. I'm not saying that I think anybody's going to launch a nuclear attack against us right now, but
so you're saying,
history,
so you agree that there
have,
hasn't been one yet, but you're worried about it.
But we have had situations where we truly thought for a short period of time that it was happening, as has Russia thought we had launched against them. That is real, and decisions had to be made. Is this real or is this a glitch or what's going on here? Those kind of decisions. We don't have time to come to the situation room.
I've never seen evidence of one of those situations where you don't have time to go to the situation room and listen to everybody.
Those would be on our end, one situation. I'd be happy to dig it up sometime, but it does happen. I don't like being out there in any position that could happen.
If there are,
I'm out.
If there are, and I'm not saying that there won't be, but I don't know if there is, I'm going to be real honest with you. They're going to tell him, okay, this is what we're going to do, and he's just going to agree.
I think that is correct. I hope that to be true. And what, isn't it a little shocking we don't know who that person is? Mm-hmm. I think it's more and more think it's his wife.
Well, I'm sure it is, but
Dr. Biden.
Yeah, doctor. And with this situation, if it is something that has to be made in seconds and they don't go sit, someone is going to, okay, this is what you're going to do. And he's just going to nod and go back to bed. But
this is correct. Yeah, you are right. You are correct. So I know you've heard this, but Joe is on the record stating that he will accept the verdict of Hunter and he will not pardon him.
He accepted the verdict. He said that yesterday. He also said that they're going to search appeals and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you right now, in Joe's mind, he does believe he won't pardon Hunter. And then if he does not win, he will pardon Hunter. And I'm not defending Joe Biden. Any parent, I'm not a parent, but any parent that had the opportunity to keep their child out of jail would do so. And maybe he'll just commute his sentence. Maybe he won't pardon him. But I would find it hard-pressed for any parent not to do that if they had the power. So if he does it, I'm fine with it.
I don't disagree with you, but don't come out and tell me that you're not going to and then do it.
Yeah, he lied. How many lies has he told?
Yes, that's what I was
saying. So he lied. Okay, add that to the million that he's already got
and
four Pinocchios for in the papers.
Yes, I don't know whether it's I don't know what form of it, but some form. I think he's going to be sentenced to something. Maybe it'll be so minimal he won't have to do anything. I do not know. But if there's anything significant there, I believe he will pardon or commute or do something irregardless of whether he is elected or not. It will just be obviously post-election.
Well,
Even if he is elected, I believe he'll do it. Is what I'm saying.
If he gets reelected, he's not going to serve jail time over this gun deal. Now, the tax thing that's coming up in September, that's the issue. And there is, if the case is open and shut as this one was, which they say it's worse, then he's probably facing jail time. And yes, I think whether he wins or not, then Joe will do something. But I'm going to state he has no downside for it. He can't win election a third time. He won't even be alive at the end of it. So he might as well just go on and he'll get a bad rap for it.
I'm not even
in the list of offenses of the Biden administration, whether it is 4 years or 8 years, him pardoning Hunter or commuting Hunter's sentence is going to be so far down on the totem pole, it's not even going to matter.
When is the tax trial?
September.
That is somewhat critical.
Yeah, September.
Okay, so would you assume there's obviously they've pushed this off for a very long time on the gun case?
They've pushed the other thing off as far as they can too. It's not getting pushed off anymore.
Would they be doing it so there is a verdict, so there is time for Joe to pardon? May have came into play. Maybe. I would drag it out until after January 1st.
I don't know what they think or do or all this other stuff, but they said the tax case is way worse and it's even more obvious, which I would think it would have to be you either pay your taxes or you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. So, but I think this is a large enough dollar amount and unaccounted for that. I'm not saying he's not going to get off of these charges, but it doesn't look realistic that he's going to beat these charges. Well, I mean, again, you either have proof that you paid your taxes or you didn't. But what I don't understand,
I don't even think we're accepting that we even, that money doesn't even seem to exist, let alone paying taxes on it in their mind.
What I don't understand is they have all this money and they have all these connections and they have Spielberg literally producing the Democratic National Convention. Okay. This lawyer they have, this Abbey Law, he was terrible. He was really bad. His whole defense
I did not.
For Hunter, which the 3 charges he got convicted on were lying on, 2 of them were like lying on the form saying that he wasn't an addict while he purchased the gun, and the other one was like misuse of a gun or something. I don't remember, but his defense was that when he went to the gun store and filled out the form, unless there was meth or crack or cocaine on the counter at that time, then he's not an addict. Excuse me?
I don't think he had a lot to work with. I'm not trying to defend him, but he did not.
That is just a terrible defense. I mean,
it was not good. Yeah, but there was nothing else.
And they wondered why deliberation literally took 2 hours and 47 minutes total. This is why.
You see, if I was a betting person, which I lose $5 in Vegas, I quit. I just do not like to give money away. But if I was, I would have bet that one juror in that being in Delaware, I would have bet one juror would have held out.
They didn't.
Prior to, obviously.
And
no, they did not.
Because up until the defense, like when the prosecution was making their case or whatever, all the pundits, I told you this last week, and I was very angry. And they're like, less than 1% of people get convicted on this charge. And they had texts from the drug dealers. They had the laptop. They had testimony from his sister-in-law turned girlfriend that he got her hooked on crack, all this other stuff. It was just whatever. But they just knew that, like you're saying, that this Abby Lowell would come up here with some defense and one person would hang on. His defense was there was no cocaine, crack, or meth on the counter when he signed the form. So therefore, he is not an addict. And everybody was like, after that, they're like, yeah, no,
done.
This isn't going to work.
I agree.
Because before the defense started, I'm telling you, everybody was preparing for him to not
Yes.
It wasn't
I'm
going to be
aware.
a not guilty, but probably a hung jury. And then they're like, yeah, no.
And I was with them. I would have been one of those.
But
most definitely. Before I go to the most important current event, I forgot to bring up when I brought the earpiece, the drugging, and so forth with Joe. They're obviously older people have moments where they're more alert, and sometimes they're not. And I assume more times than not, the morning is better for older people. So we do see those swings, but to time those swings when needed, obviously some manipulation is going on. So I agree with you that there is something adrenaline, something going on there. With that said, I've watched his body posture and movement, and there are times that he almost looks normal. Very few, but there are times. Do you believe there's a body double in play ever?
I don't know. I did
That intrigues me. I don't think so, but I just don't know.
Okay, so a lot of people won't remember this, but when Hillary was running against Trump, she was at a 9/11 event, and she had some kind of medical moment, and it was bad, and they couldn't get her to the van, and then they finally got her into the van, but she was convulsing, and all of a sudden they whooshed her away, and the closest place they could go to was Chelsea Clinton's apartment, and so anyway, and then an hour later, Hillary comes out of Chelsea's apartment, and she's waving, and she's fine, and all this other stuff. And for 2 months after, all these people showed all these reasons that was a body double and all this other stuff. I don't know. That's a stretch too far for me.
It is for me as well, but maybe we're clueless, and maybe they do go that far. I guess if I'm in the inner circle, let's talk about this group of people that actually controls our government that may not be our president and so forth. If that exists at any level, I guess I'm not even opposed to them having those type of things or misleading the public for the better good. There's some things there that are very gray areas that if we needed that body double in a situation of war or something else to make sure that our country remains safe, to give that image, I'm okay with it. But I'm with you. I don't know if I can go that far, but I cannot say that doesn't happen.
Right. I don't think anybody can say it doesn't happen, but that's a bit too conspiracy theorist for me. But anyway,
can you predict what the biggest current event is that we haven't talked about?
No.
In my mind, the biggest current event.
No.
Have you not watched the news or been on social media at all?
I guess not.
Sharks.
Oh, the sharks. Yeah. Okay. What is this? As
sharks, and more sharks. It's current events. Florida, Gulf and Atlantic side, North Carolina. They're all up and down the East Coast now. For some reason, and I can assure you that I've been in the ocean. I love snorkeling, scuba diving, all those things. I've seen black tip sharks, nurse sharks. I haven't seen a major large shark while I'm in the water. But how many times have they been close to me and I was unaware? Probably numerous. I can remember several years ago, Clearwater Beach in Florida. I catch a hammerhead shark, a sizable hammerhead shark, several hundred yards off of the beach, where that shark could be at the beach within a minute. They're always there, but for some reason, something's pushing them to the shoreline, or numbers have increased, but they're everywhere down there right now. And again, I'm not saying that they're there hunting people or anything like that. Is there some mistaken identity and people there are attacks happening? But it's very intriguing to me. I'm curious why all of a sudden we're seeing this dramatic increase in shark numbers along the shoreline. I would like somebody to answer that for me.
If
there's a listener out there
talking about that, I thought you were talking about all the weird behavior that they've been doing. There's
showing up in different places and whites where they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, but
there's something going on. I don't know. There is no question there's something unusual happening. I'm not saying it's human created or anything like that. Maybe it's a cycle that happens every 50. I have no idea, but there's something going on.
Well, you would think if this had happened before, a scientist would be able to tell us, but I don't.
You would think. I mean, you can go on social media. I mean, there's just normal people along the beaches videoing sharks going by left and right. Many bleak. And again, I think they've always been there. Maybe not at this number, and maybe not this close. And they haven't bothered us. I'm not trying to say stay out of the water or anything like that, or sounding any alarm. I'm more intrigued by why it's all happening. It is interesting to me, to the point where if I had 48 hours to go to Florida, check it out, I probably would. I would enjoy that.
Well, just board your little plane and go.
Would you like to go? Do you have any shows in Florida in the near future?
No, I don't have any shows in Florida in the near future, so I'm good.
Florida people, if you have somebody cancel in the next couple of weeks,
I'm booked.
I'm in.
Oh,
I'm in.
Dale's
I'm in.
Okay, good.
I'll take it. Are you good on current events?
Yeah, it's great. It was wonderful.
Tell us a little bit about the BTR JLA.
Okay. Top 10 junior lambs in the nation. First place, Holly Faye Switzer from California. Second place, Lord, I can't talk. Second place, Alfred McDaniel of Texas. Third place, Maisie Zerbach of Oregon. Fourth place, Brady Brister of Texas. Fifth place, Wiley Holly of Mississippi, followed by Paisley Carlson of California, followed by Cinch Ward of California. Eighth is Paisley Lord of Texas. Ninth is Elizabeth LaCourse of California. And 10th is Jackson King of Mississippi.
Congratulations.
I'm ready for your water boy announcement for the week, please, sir. I missed it.
I can do that. You did. I asked. You did cover that while I was in Africa, right?
Yes, I did. Not nearly to the way that you would, and I apologized to the Show Fresh H2O people both weeks that I was not up to it. But you did not leave me with any material when you went on your out of Africa experience.
No, I have to admit I left you with absolutely nothing, nor with any idea whether I could jump. You were completely hung out to dry on that one. Completely. Once again, I cannot express the appreciation for Show Fresh H2O's sponsorship of this podcast. I have not been to a livestock event in a very long time that multiple people have not approached me with confirmation that Show Fresh H2O was working for them, helping to keep animals hydrated and looking their best. I appreciate the feedback and encourage all who have not yet tried Show Fresh H2O to do so, especially with the summer heat hitting this west and in the southwest the past couple weeks. It is critical to keep them drinking. And if we can take the chlorination out of the water or neutralize it, they're more likely to drink. It's that simple. Show Fresh H2O can be purchased at the your local farm store, Show Supply Trailer, or at swampfox.com. Showmanship Pet Peeves 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People have been asking for this.
I don't know if they've asked for it, but I've had enough. So
I hope I think we're going to agree on a lot of these, and we haven't discussed it in a lot of detail other than when you or I come out of a show and something hits us hard. We're in a situation where we need to tell the other one, why is this happening? And you never have an answer for me, ever.
No, I don't have an answer because I can't get into the brains of small children. No, I don't have an answer. No, I don't
maybe call Slow Joe. Slow Joe gets pretty close.
There you go.
To the brains.
But yeah, no, I don't have an answer. But I'm just okay. Before we start, if this is you or your kid, don't take this personally. Just fix it. Because
how do you think they're going to take it?
Well, I don't care. We're not telling them this to be mean. We're telling them this because it's the truth and it needs to stop. And we're trying to help them or their kid. But I guarantee you, I'm going to get hate mail all week and all this other stuff, and I'm going to be angry.
I hope you do. And so in full disclosure, just because Ryan and I may disapprove doesn't mean everybody does.
Bullshit.
But I cannot imagine how they wouldn't, some of the things we're going to talk about.
And
but
so, if this is, and
but
I,
they may
the reason
not. Maybe there's showmanship.
No.
There's somebody telling them to do this, Ryan. Somebody is telling them to do these things.
I can't help them. Don't listen to crazy people. Okay? Then that's my next.
Fair enough.
Then don't listen to crazy people. And the reason that I know that small children and their parents are going to get mad is because the first one I'm going to tell you about, which is, I can't believe I have got the reactions I have gotten. I mean, I really can't. But since June 1st, and I don't even, is the date of the 12th?
Yep, somewhere in that range.
I've judged a lot of shows. I have had to tell over 20 kids in showmanship they can't chew gum. This is not.
You were very unimpressed. Very.
And throughout the fall and a little bit in the spring, I caught.
You remember you said something about these debates? There are no rules. Are there rules that say you can't?
Yeah, there is a rule that you cannot chew gum.
I have not seen.
Well,
the rule.
I don't give a shit. There's a rule. Okay, it just is. There are unspoken rules. That is an unspoken rule. And like I don't know what started this. I don't know if chewing gum is on the uprise or whatever. I do not know. I was never allowed to chew gum at any time as a child, ever. So it just did not get to happen. So anyway, I don't know anything about this, but I am telling you, and even Dale's trying to be funny or cute. He knows if his kid went out there chewing gum, he would knock it out of their mouth. Would you not?
I would not allow that.
Okay,
and
exactly.
that's not even on the. It's not even thought of.
Okay.
Well, I don't have the privilege to get out and judge very many shows. I can't say that I've noticed it for some reason.
You should have noticed it at the one we were both at because it was happening.
Oh, I wasn't. See, if I'm not judging it, I'm probably not as in tune to watching some of those things. But I can't think. I can think in the past a few kids, but I think this is more of a recent thing. Otherwise, it would have got to you earlier.
And like I said, in the fall, I saw a little bit, and I'd be like, hey, don't need to chew gum. In the spring, a couple of times.
You tell the kid out in the ring.
Yes.
And do they spit it out?
No. And this is what I'm saying. Over probably near half these kids looked at me like I was crazy while they're chomping on their gum. Like, why should that matter? And like one kid came up and asked me after, and he was like, I just don't understand why that's a big deal. I said, it's a huge deal. I said, I said, you cannot do that. I said, it does not happen. It does not come to pass. Get it out of your mind.
Okay. So my approach to something like this and pretty much everything like this, or even in life, if there are going to be judges out there, it does not bother at all. I promise you they exist. I promise you. However,
don't listen to crazy people.
If I have my child or somebody that I'm working with going in the ring, not knowing if that judge cares or not, why take that chance? Why put yourself in a position that you may inhibit yourself from succeeding? Do everything possible
everybody
to avoid
listens to this podcast to watch somebody chew gum for just 30 seconds. The next part, and tell me that needs to happen while a kid's showing. There are also obvious, like, what if the animal gets away and you choke? This is not good.
Oh, geez, don't go that far. That's out. Just don't chew gum. That's the simple part. I'm with you on that one. I'm not worried about the choking or the other things at all.
It's
Zero.
Just a terrible idea. I don't understand it. It bothers me. I cannot handle it. And
I think that might have instigated the Pet Peeves episode today. That may have been the trigger.
No, I know what the trigger was, but this was not it. But I'm starting out with this because I'm telling you, I'm going to get hate mail all week and I'm going to be angry. But because I've seen the reactions of these kids' faces and they don't understand. And so maybe everybody, maybe at all these showmanship clinics or whatever, they're not telling the children to not chew gum. I am telling you right now, don't do it under me ever. I'm going to tell you, if I am at a show that I'm not judging and I see you chewing gum, I'm probably going to walk up and go, hey, I might spit that out before I go in the ring.
Just trying to help out. So I would like to make a plea before we get much further. So I want to reach out to our listeners and have them inform us. Reach out. If it's hate mail, it's hate mail. If it's positive mail, it's positive mail. I don't care in what form, but please explain to us why these things are happening and who is instructing such, if you are aware. I would love to understand it better as we move through these.
Well,
so please read.
Before I move on to the next one, I'm going to tell you another, and this needs to happen too. Don't do it when you're given reasons either. And I'm going to tell a story.
Terrible idea.
I'm going to tell a story. So one time a person was giving reasons to me and they were chewing gum. And they didn't realize I don't know if they didn't realize it, but the gum shot out of their mouth. And they saw the gum shot out of their mouth and they had a heart attack. So they picked the gum up, they put it back in their mouth. Then they realized that they had put the gum back in their mouth and they ran out of the reasons room. Gum is the devil, is my point, people.
Your score was a...
I'm not going to talk about it. It was just not.
I think it's a 0.
It wasn't a 0, but it was not very high. Just
fair enough.
So anyway, that's my first one, gum. Mm-hmm.
I can throw one out, but I'm going to throw one out there just because I would like you to talk about it. You're much better at talking about these than I am. Much, much better. And we've talked about this one before, and it's still happening. Lesser than I think in the past. And this is the one that I really, really would like to know how it began, who instructed it, and why. The bounce.
Yeah, the pig bouncing. It's way better, and I want to give credit.
It is. It has gotten better. Maybe it's just better with you and I because people have heard.
I
don't know.
I want to give credit because I have seen a couple of kids in the hog shows that I've recently judged that I could tell they wanted to bounce and they were trying to keep themselves from it because I was judging. And I told them that I appreciated that, whatever, and all this other stuff. So they are listening or they've been told because you could tell they were desperately trying to not bounce. I don't know what.
Maybe it helps keep them calm. Maybe it's a stress release. Maybe there's some.
We've talked
about
this 200 times on the podcast, and no one has come. I have not gotten any mail that says why the bouncing exists or what the positive.
I want to know
thing about bouncing is, but it is getting better. But just don't do it. Just don't.
So let's go a little bit deeper, and we probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. So sometimes you will see certain ribbons in girls' hairs or certain colors of show sticks or things like that may be a political persuasion to identify certain kids. And I'm not saying this happens very often and almost never, but on occasion it probably has happened. Could it have started out that way as an indication that, hey, this kid is part of this camp? Or
you're saying the bouncers are all one camp?
I'm not saying they aren't. I don't know. They're definitely not at this point. I'm just saying, how did it start?
You're saying that a group was started okay, we're going to bounce up and down the ring to signify that we are XYZ people.
And I have no idea if that's correct because I am not in that circle whatsoever. That I'm just throwing theories out because I just don't know how it happened.
Oh, I don't know either.
And then I think if that was the case or one person started others and that person happened to win a show, we don't think for ourselves. We just jump in and we're just like sheep, follow the other one. We don't know why we're feeding this purple water and this 25 buckets of pig supplement, but we're going to give it because my neighbor did and they won last week. So we're going to do it even though we have no understanding of nutrition and how this is all going to affect the animal. We're going to do it anyway. Those things get on me. But I don't know what the title of that podcast is, Ryan, but it's coming. It's coming.
Everything. We've had that podcast.
Follow the Leader, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's time for another one. It's there. What's your next one?
Well, Matt, can I finish? You open this up on.
Go ahead.
If somebody did start this to signify that they were a group, the bouncers were all on one, whatever. Wear the same color shirt or just something. Something other. Everybody have on the same shoes. I don't care. The bouncing, no. And anybody that saw it and said, "Ooh, that looks like fun," no, stop. Just stop. Stop.
So I could, and we have talked about this. It's a distraction for me, is why I don't like it. I don't care what that child is necessarily doing, other than it is a distraction. It's probably not helping them. But where it really got me, Ryan, and again, I accept very, very few shows, and I every time I take one, I'm away from home when I shouldn't be, and so forth. But the last one that I did, when there was a young person that came in the ring, and the pig stops, and guess what? The bouncing doesn't even stop. The pig is just standing. We're not even moving, but we're going up and down, bouncing. That is very odd to me. Very odd.
I'm out on it. I'm just in general, but I do appreciate that it has gotten much, much less. And like I said, I've judged several pig shows over the last couple of weeks, whatever, and I have physically seen children trying to refrain from bouncing, and I have appreciated them for it. And the other thing in pigs, and I've said this on here before, and I don't think it's gotten any worse, but I don't think it's gotten any better. Keep your free hand off your hip, your ass, etc. Just don't. It's dumb looking. It's dumb. I mean, I don't understand what is so hard about a free hand.
I think people are uncomfortable where to put it, where it goes.
Just let it hang by you. Just like when you're walking, just let it hang by your side, or put a brush in your hand, do something. But I'm going to give, even in sheep and goats, when they're leading, they have a free hand. And there's so many kids that don't know what to do with it. The thing to do with your free hand, like pigs, is a super simple way. If you have a problem with this, just put a brush in your hand. That's all you gotta do. Okay, that's it. I mean,
that does.
I mean, it just takes care of it.
Away.
It completely takes care of it. In the other, if you don't want to do that, or in the sheep and goats, when you live as natural as you watch yourself walk. Just watch yourself walk. And how do you hold your hands down by your side? Do that.
So you're taking into you're bridging into an area that I was going to bring up, and this ties into it. I am, and again, this is personal opinion. I know others would coach for it and want the opposite of what I'm going to talk about. But like that hand, Ryan, when you say just watch yourself walk, I want you to be as natural in that show ring as possible, real.
That's what I'm saying.
Not in a stiff, awkward position about any of your body movements. And that natural position draws less attention to you. In my ideal world, that animal is out there almost on its own. You're invisible. And that thing is going everywhere it needs to go with its head up. Everything is perfect. I don't even know you exist. That is my ideal.
And I'm going to give an example of a little boy that was at Goat Junior Nationals. He was a great showman, and he was second in his showmanship division. But when we went to lead around, he would pull his free hand up, and it was in a fist-like position, and it was up by his face. So it looked like he was ready to throw bows. I mean, and so when I went and talked to him, I said, the only thing I can critique on you is when we lead around, you raise your free hand up to like chin level, and you kind of have it in a fist position, and it looks defensive. And that's not how I would do things. And that's my one critique. Everything else you did quite well. And when he came back in showing in the regular, he did not, it was an easy fix for him at least, because he did not do it. And I complimented him on not doing it then. So like, I think this is an easy fix, because most of the kids that I have told them something about this, and that's just one example, and not to embarrass him, he was reserve champion at Go Junior National Showman. He's a great showman, but they can fix it quite easily. The pigs seem, in sheep and goats at least, the pigs, it seems harder for them. I don't understand, and so that's why I'm offering, put a brush in your free hand, because
I think this has been a topic for as long as I can remember. Where does that free hand go? And over the years, there'll be different trends going different directions.
Well, now it is they have it up on their hip or their buttock area where, and I guess because some of them have a brush in that back pocket, And so they kind of have it on the brush, but they don't. It's just and then they have to twist their whole body. It's very awkward. And so no, it's a no for me.
Do you recall a time when almost everybody hit the ring and their hand was behind their back?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that looked really dumb too.
And I think part of it is people are unsure what to do with it. And all of a sudden, okay, there's somewhere you can put it and others are doing it. So that's a safe place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hit me maybe as hard as you. The bounce obviously does. The hand, to me, it just is, I don't care where it is as long as it's not distracting and it looks semi-natural. But I think your solution about just putting a brush in.
How can it not be distracting when all these children have their hands on their butts? It is very distracting.
I don't know. It doesn't hit me as hard as you, but I agree completely with what you're saying, and I like the solution about the brush in the hand. I think that will help. That almost gives you that distraction that, okay, we're fine. I'm just holding a brush. I don't have to put my arm somewhere, my hand somewhere.
So
can I tell?
Go what?
Can I say the one you're going to do next? Can I throw it out there for you to talk?
Yeah, go right ahead.
The lamb sprint.
And okay. So
the lamb sprint.
This is what Derby. This is the Kentucky. Yeah, the Daytona 500, the Kentucky Derby, whatever. I don't get where this came from, and I do want someone to text, snap, email, send a smoke signal, whatever. Tell me who started this bullshit, because I'm going to that person, and I'm gonna have a talk.
This hit me, Ryan. When it hit me, and I called you.
We didn't talk about this. I brought this up the other day, and you're like, "Oh my god, I did the whatever." And
it knocked me over when it happened.
Okay, yeah, but you never told me.
I could not even believe it.
And so this is recent.
Very recent.
And so we're going to try to shut this down early. The fact that you take your sheep, and the reason it doesn't happen in goats as much is because goats don't lead, and they run these.
It's not that we're not trying.
No, they try, but it just doesn't work. They run their sheep as fast as humanly possible as they can around the ring. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of stupid shit. It's way worse than the bounce. Way worse.
When we say run, I would, if I hadn't experienced it recently, I would think Ryan has lost his mind.
No,
nobody's going to do that. And it's a jog / run as fast as that sheep will go, and the kid can go without falling down.
Yes,
that's the best way to explain it. And if you've got one that comes in first, that's on that Kentucky Derby sprint, the rest tend to follow.
Oh yeah, because they're trying to keep up, so theirs won't stop. Because normally in sheep and goats, if they don't have one right in front of them, then they will stall out. So then we have a whole ring of Indiana 500 Kentucky Derby racetrack. What in the hell has possessed anybody to think this was a good idea? I do not know.
The only thing I can think of is we have a semi-crippled sheep, and if we're running, you may not notice. That's all I got to throw at it.
So I agree with you, and I brought this up at this one show. On the mic, I said, just because you're running it around the ring does not mean that I cannot pick up on the structural issues with the sheep. I said, because it actually makes it more obvious. Because here's the thing, people. It doesn't matter if it's a human or an animal. They are going to walk at the pace that is most comfortable for them depending on their structure. And I guarantee you, it is not a full-out sprint or a jog. No.
I'm with you on that. And not only, it's just a bad idea. I don't feel.
I'm just going to say it. I think they think somebody has told them that the majority of the judges can't read structure, and they will equate the animal going fast around the ring as being sound. And if that is what y'all's plan is, and that is what y'all do, that is not only the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but it's insulting to people that judge. It just is. It is.
I would agree. Ryan, it hit me so hard. I pretty much stopped the show, and we redid this whole. Let's slow down. Let's rethink this. And 2 or 3 classes later, what happens?
They did it again.
Off to the races again. They're not getting the message.
I don't know.
I don't remember. I've seen individuals on occasion go a little faster than I'd like over the years, but this was, I mean, all of them coming in on a dead sprint, or most of them, and way faster than ever before. Way fast.
I've seen it where I've like motioned to someone, just slow it down, but that might be 1 kid, 2 kids a show. We are talking half the class is trying to lope around the arena. I'm like, no.
So you're seeing this. It's not a regional thing. You're seeing it all across.
No, it's all over. It's all over, and it's dumb, and it's really I'm telling you, I saw it a little bit at Goat Junior Nationals, even with the goats, and the goats won't lead, and they're like, the ones that would, yeah, we're gonna run them, especially in showmanship. We're gonna run them as fast as we can. I'm like, no, stop. Do not do this. That is dumb. Yeah, I did.
Agreed.
And so
well, that one's going to generate some hate mail.
Oh, somebody's going to generate hate mail. Now, one of these haters that they paid somebody or somebody told them to do this. You come send your hate mail to me and you tell me what moron told you this was a good idea, because I'm going to go find that person. And we're going to. If you paid to get that advice.
If you paid to get that advice, I would like you to submit a written request for your money back.
It is, whoa. I have seen so many bad ideas in showmanship over the years in all. This one ranks right at the top. And
it's there.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There's no positive outcome of this whatsoever at all. None.
Agreed.
None. Zero.
Agreed. I have one that you will agree with.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly. And this one gets me, and maybe I should preface this just a little bit. When you're out there in the ring sorting showmanship, and showmanship to me is much more difficult because it's personal, that I'm sorting the kids, I'm not sorting the livestock. So it is hard, especially if you have to place them top to bottom, which I think is insane. We should try to avoid doing that at any show anywhere. Show managers, let's avoid that. Everything is going through your mind. And if you come in the ring, especially if you're the first one in, and you have no idea what direction to go or how that judge has been working the ring or the ring mechanics, I can assure you, from me, I'm not going to speak for the rest, that forms a very, very negative opinion on how well you want to do in showmanship, or your thought process and how to succeed in showmanship. You've just started out underwater. And I can't think of a time that somebody is come in the ring completely confused into showmanship, especially if you don't know, why would you get up and come in first? None of that makes any sense to me. But when that happens, you do not have a chance with me. You're done. It's over at that point. I feel bad saying that, but it's the truth. Psychologically, I'm not going to get over that hurdle and grab you to win that showmanship class. So being aware of the ring and how the judge is managing the ring, or the people out there assisting, the show ring staff or management, understand it. Don't make for confusion. But then let's go even a little bit further. For those that want to excel in the ring, understand where those holes are, understand where the inclines are, understand how to position yourself in the ring without getting too far out of whack. That's going to make you look just a little bit better. So all of those things come into play. In other words, put every bit of effort into understanding where you're going to go when you enter the ring. Understand that the ring surface, I guess maybe is the best way to put it, and take advantage of it. Don't put yourself in a hole as soon as you walk in. That is all I have on that one.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we've said 3 million times on here. You have to go up there and watch class before the show and know what's going on. And Dale says in showmanship, and I agree, but if it's in the regular show and you're the first one in and you don't know where you're going, you've made a bad impression on me already. I'm not saying that you can't overcome it, but it's a bad impression, because even if you have the best sheep in the show or the best steer in the show, you didn't know where you were supposed to go. So
you're telling me you don't want to make the effort to come up and at least better understand what you should do.
No, at least know where you're supposed to go. That's not a positive impression. And so, yeah, I agree with that completely on that. And knowing the holes and the high points and the low points, that's a lost art. That used to be something that I'm not going to say the majority of kids did, but at least the upper end showmen knew and would work around and avoid. I mean, I can tell you it would take hours, but I cannot. There was countless numbers of times when I showed as a kid that I would just stop and they're like, pull up. It's like, no, I'm not pulling up. There's a hole there. This is it.
In that hole, and you've seen it so many times, Ryan, when you're in that hole, you're done.
No, yeah.
It is not going to work.
Well, I judged a cattle show in April, and there was this gigantic hole and huge. And so, like, I mean, there was several times where I would tell the kid, okay, y'all move up and you stay here. We're not going in this area right here, because they kept doing it and it completely changes everything on the animal and it's not fair. And so but yeah, I don't understand why people don't know that. I don't understand why that's not taught anymore. But yes, knowing the high point, if you could get think about if you're a sheep or a goat showman and there's a natural high point out there. And if you go in fourth, then your sheep or goat is going to land most classes on that natural high point. Do you know how much better that makes your lamb look in terms of the front end being elevated, all these other things? So you throw bows to go fourth. I mean, this is simple. If you walk in eighth and you're going to be in the hole, then you don't go anywhere near eighth. I don't understand how this does not. And then if by some chance something messes up, whatever, because in sheep and goats, ones don't lead and you have to go around them and all this other stuff. I guarantee you, any judge that has a clue, if they say you need to move up and you say, sir, ma'am, I can't, there is a hole there and I don't want to put my animal in there, you have just made the most positive impression you could ever make on a judge. Ever.
Huge. And I can remember, Ryan, when you'd have a couple really good showmen out there and they're fighting for that good position. They've got it on the radar and that's where they're going to stop. That was awesome.
And I'm not joking. I'm not going to give the show and I'm not going to name names, but one time it was a very important show, and let's just say that the judge got into a routine and whoever came in the very last steer in the ring, that calf ended up first or second. And I'm telling you, there was about 5 of us at the end, and I said, we will all miss this class, or I will physically start beating you people, but y'all are going in before me. I will be the last one in this ring. So, yeah.
It's interesting. There's a lot that goes on that sometimes we don't bring out into the public or talk about, but this is one of them. And I'm not saying that it's not happening a lot, and there are some really good showmen out there, but I guess in my mind, it appeared as though people were more aware of it a few years ago, maybe, than now.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're talking about it. Maybe we'll get showmen to start thinking about that, and parents or people guiding them, guys, let's go look at the ring. Let's find where this high spot is. I mean, I've got my daughter out there. If we get into a jackpot show and that ring's not very, very good at all, and you can't get yourself out of a bad position, go ahead and dig. Let's move some dirt or some shavings around. Let's make it better.
No, I cannot agree with that more. And so I have one, and I think I have addressed this on here. I know I've addressed parts of this, but I don't know if I've addressed this. So we haven't talked much about cattle, but there is an epidemic going on in cattle showmanship, and I have to get it off my chest. So I am fully aware that the goal when showing cows is to walk your animal into the setup. I get it. We turn around, we know our spacing, whatever, and the goal is to walk that animal so you do not have to place the foot. I understand it. I get the concept. I do it every time I show, have my whole life. I am with you. We are at a point right now in showing cattle that we have brainwashed or browbeat them so much into this effect. Here is the two problems. Number one, which I know we've talked about this on here before, they do not understand the concept of placing feet. And for all intents and purposes, you can walk your little happy animal into it all you want. At some point, they're going to move. And it is a better plan of attack to use the show stick, which was designed. Its whole intent and purpose, motivation is to be a tool to place feet, people. Okay? That's what it's there for. It is a better plan of attack to move that foot back to where you wanted it to instead of circling the animal out and trying to walk it back into position. And if you can't understand that, I can't help you. But the bigger problem, the huge problem, is these children are so brainwashed into walking them in and they don't know how to place feet. So when something happens, they just walk up again and try it again, and walk up again and try it again. We are walking to infinity. And one of two things happen. You either are going up the ass or covering up the animal in front of you, or you run out of the ring, stops eventually, and you can no longer walk up. And then they have no idea what to do. They're like, oh shit, what do I do now? It is tragic. It is terrible. It is awful. And
this one you're taking very personal. Very personal.
Oh my God, it's bad. It's bad. It's so bad.
You hit it. They're being instructed to always walk in to where they need. That's the pressure coming from those that are helping them, and that's an ideal situation. I'm not arguing.
And I think a lot of why I'm taking this so personal is I am on the side of the fence at more cattle shows per se than other ones, and so I hear all the coaches and whatever they're like, once in a blue moon do you hear, hey, get that back foot back. It's like, walk up, circle, walk up. What? Jesus Christ, people. And
maybe it's a situation that stemmed from because they're working so hard on that, they're not putting the time into being able to move the foot. It's very possible.
You have to be all encompassing here, people. You got to be able to do it all. This is like sports. Can you only do one thing? You can only run. You can't catch the ball and run. You can only run. Well, you're not going to be very useful to the team. Okay? You have to be able to do it all.
Fair enough. I have one.
I'm just telling you.
You can talk about
that is an epidemic. It has to stop. It has to stop. But anyway, go ahead.
Please stop. This one's getting him. Okay. This can happen. Showmanship sometimes is before we judge the show. Sometimes showmanship is after we've judged the show. Sometimes the person judging the show isn't even judging showmanship, which in my opinion, under an ideal situation is how it should be, but budgets and depending on the size of the show, all those things.
You're saying
will
that the
not always allow
showmanship
that
judge
to
should be
happen.
different than the show judge?
At a larger show, yes.
No, I think
believe
all
that.
shows.
Or it should be.
I think it
Yeah,
should.
but you can't hire two. Some shows can't hire two.
You're not
judges.
listening, then
They're
I would
not
not
in
have
the
to
budget.
judge showmanship anymore. Therefore, I think it should be all shows.
Okay, so anyway, partially just because there's always that battle. Do we go out in showmanship? Do we let them see this animal fit or not fit? There's just a lot that comes into play at the larger shows that it would be ideal to have two separate judges, one for showmanship, one for not. And if not, maybe after the show is a good time for showmanship. But my experience is when you have the showmanship after the show, a lot of people are packed up and on their way home. They're gone.
Well,
they're not
only
sticking
that.
around. So,
and I'm not trying to interrupt you. Not only that, and this is regardless whether it's when showmanship is after the show, there's a bunch of problems with it. Number one, the animal's tired. Number two, especially if you're a pig, but all animals, they know the way to go home. They know the gate to get out, all this other stuff. Number three, people don't stick around as much because they're tired and they want to go home. Number four, the kid's tired, and it's showmanship after the show is always a terrible idea, in my opinion.
And number five, I already know who's going to win. I know how you're going to be placed, which makes my job much easier because I've watched you all day long and it's done. So yeah, I'm okay just from that standpoint. It's very simple that I've been able to watch this. Okay, so I got a little off track on that one.
I interrupted you.
If that's okay. And I see this not only in showmanship, I see it in the show as well. And Ryan and I, I'm sure, have mentioned this before. Showing your dislike for your placing. So what I call that eat shit and die stare when you get pulled in, that you're just very unhappy. You're going to see that judge again. It may be, if you're in showmanship just before the show, you're going to see him again very soon. I promise you, whether they want to take that into account on where you place or not, it is going to happen subconsciously at the least. And if it's me, I'm going to consciously probably discount you for such. And I'm going to be very open about that. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I understand you're disappointed. I understand you may not agree with where you're placed, but for your own self-preservation, don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible. So be a little smarter about it. And here's where I come into play. Parents or who's ever kind of that team manager, if you see your showman, child, whatever it may be out there and that they pull that, I don't know how to say this, Ryan, without getting ourselves in trouble. I'm never sure what we can and can't say, but I would beat the child. How's that?
I'm not against it.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. So to just be conscious of that and don't. And I see it every other show, maybe not necessarily that I'm judging, but present at and just watching. And sometimes hopefully that judge isn't, for that person's sake, maybe that judge didn't see it, but the audience saw it. And it's not just, and we have talked about this, it's not just the impression you're giving the judge. What was our episode title? Everybody's watching. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are forming an opinion. Yeah, people are forming an opinion on you. And if we're in this business to make better human beings and to use this as an educational tool, wow, that is the wrong direction to go. Not only the wrong direction to go, I can think of a couple individuals that were so sour in the ring, this being an example, and whether the judge was aware or not, people around ringside, maybe even on a live feed, they continue to form a negative and more negative opinion of that person, that them being involved in showing livestock and maybe going to try to be within that industry later probably work to a disadvantage because of the attitude. Did I confuse the issue there?
And I'm going to say I agree with you. And I think the most important part is, yes, that judge is going to judge again, but there are everybody standing around ringside. I can't tell you the number of times that somebody has come up to me or messaged me and be like, hey, how about XYZ and that look she gave you when she got beat, or, stuff like that. And the same thing goes, and see, Dale doesn't, I think it's different for me. because I am turned around. I am giving my reasons to the crowd and watching them. And like, we just were both at Goat Junior Nationals, and I was explaining to him that the reactions that I saw from different people and all these things, that I don't even understand how you can do that, but I'm just telling you that I do. The same goes for the people on the rail, because 99.999% of the shows, the judge is looking at the animal. So you think that y'all can act a fool and whatever if you're not happy.
But still, sometimes they're behind. Sometimes you'll still see it because they're in sight.
Well, but it's in peripheral vision, but also then somebody standing around ringside that may be their friend sees you doing it. They're going to tell them later. And I see it because I'm looking at you. And my favorite move to do is when I see you get pissed off, I'm just going to walk right up to you and talk to you about your animal then into your face. So when y'all see me do that, you know why. I can associate that group on the rail with that kid, and I'm going to associate that group on the rail with that kid the rest of the day, whether that may have just been their one animal from that person. It's not good, so just don't do it.
Agreed completely. We didn't talk about this because I wasn't going to bring it up because we beat it up so many times. But we'll see it in cattle, and we'll see it in the lamb ring especially, and it's become a habit. And I think it's less, at least when I'm judging. I'm sure those listening, the same goes for Ryan, about constantly pushing those tops down, whether it's on the move, on the lambs, or when we get them stuck right in front of the judge, waving that red flag saying, hey, I've got one that wants to push their top. I want to make sure you know it. So we're going to push it down right in front of you. I'm seeing less of that. And the same thing with loining cattle, that some cattle that don't need to be loined for some reason, it's almost a habit that when some of the showmen pull in, they're going to loin them irregardless of whether they need it or not.
If they can get them stops, because, they walk a lot these
days.
Yes.
But
yes.
No. So
I would say that I do think that I have seen a definite decrease in the pushing down of the tops on the move, or when the judge, I'm not saying that they don't do it, but they are getting better about doing it when you're 5 sheep away or whatever, and they're not doing it on the move. And I'm telling you,
and there's nothing wrong with doing it.
No, there's nothing wrong with doing it. And like I said, I've said several times on my, just here at the last sheep show I judged, a young lady, I think she was second, and good sheep, but too tight in top, and she would push it down or whatever. And I only noticed her doing it once. But I said, young lady knows the problem with her sheep. She knows that it's too tight in its top. She wants to level out and push it down. And that's what she needs to do, because whatever. And so I wasn't saying that as a insult to her at all. I was just saying she knows what the problem is, and she's right. Here is the problem with the sheep. He's too tight in the spine, whatever, all this other stuff. But yeah, I get it. But it is much better than maybe a year ago, when they're literally pushing the tops down as we're walking them around the ring. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. So kudos for y'all for improvement.
Absolutely. How many do you have left?
I'm done. I can't talk anymore.
I have one.
Huh.
I have one.
Uh-huh.
So, and I don't know that
Clifton was right. It was going to be 11 o'clock before we get there.
It will disappoint me if you don't agree with this. I'm sure you're going to. So our goal for that showman, Ryan, is to put a positive mental image of themselves to the judge, or present that image to the judge in every manner that we can, whatever that may be. Whether it's your personality, when you come by to say hi, you actually talk back or say something funny.
Yeah, they don't do that.
How
much.
You're dressed, and they should. Your body language, all of those things. If I'm going into the ring or trying to coach a showman going to the ring, I'm trying to cover every basis that I possibly can to make sure that that showman is not doing something that the judge disapproves of, and hopefully doing things that will appeal to the judge in a manner that works. So with that said, I don't understand. And I hear it on parents, and I hear it from others that are coaching, and I see it sometimes. I do not understand why we would take a different approach to showmanship when we enter the ring than the actual show. to me, we're trying to accomplish the same thing. No question whatsoever. So why do sometimes kids come in maybe too stiff and too serious in showmanship, or maybe they're putting more effort into showmanship and they do a better job, and then they come in later and they don't care. They're not working hard enough at it. There's no understanding on my part why you would be any different in showmanship than you would in the actual ring. Maybe because judges sometimes require certain things in showmanship that maybe we think are stupid, so we do it for that and not for the show. I don't know.
There's no good reason to show differently in showmanship and the real show, because the purpose of becoming a good and a great showman is to give you an advantage when you're in the real show and the money and the checks and the sale holes and the banners and the buckles are on the line. That's the purpose of becoming a good showman. So there should be no difference in the way you show. And I agree with you. I think that there is, in a large percentage of kids across all species, a difference in either their attitude in the way they show in showmanship versus the regular show, or in just some physical differences in how they show. And the only one that I'm going to say that I can understand a little bit is if we're out there in the heat of the battle and, at the show in the regular ring, and maybe we are not 100% level or correct in the lineup. Maybe, we're just a little off center or whatever. I'm probably not going to tell that kid to circle out and get 100% center if the heifer or the sheep or whatever is completely set up. I do think that a lot of judges in showmanship, that the first time you get out of line, they pull you. So if you do that differently in showmanship, maybe I can understand. The rest of it, I don't understand at all. I don't. And,
I think that's a good point.
And the rest of it, I don't understand at all. But that part, I can kind of get it just a little, but it goes from they are more intense or they are more serious about it in showmanship than they are the regular deal. I mean, there is so many things that are different. A lot of kids, especially in sheep and goats, they show differently in showmanship than they do in the regular show.
And I'm not saying it's always better either.
No, but
I think there's situations.
And I don't know if it's because I've watched some of these kids and I've watched them show to different judges. It's not just me, but like their stance is different in showmanship than it is in the regular deal. Maybe because, there are several people that have talked about the fact that we get so far out on our stance when we're trying to brace sheep and goats. It's ridiculous, whatever, but their stance is different in showmanship. There's just a lot of things that can be different. And we haven't ever talked about this, but I just don't, I have never understood it. Because I go back to the point, the reason to improve your showmanship is to give you advantage over the other showman when that placing is on the line. So yeah, I don't understand it, but a very good point, Dale.
No, and that's something we can talk more about. And sometimes maybe I blame it on there are judges that will sometimes say, I want you to do this in showmanship. And guess what? Including Ryan and I, some of the things that we're saying right now on this episode that may be pet peeves for us may not be for others. I can't imagine they wouldn't be, but everybody's different. So because a judge tells you to do something in showmanship, and if it doesn't make sense, go ahead and do that for that judge. But be careful maybe when you go to the next judge. And sometimes I think we gather all these little tips and guidances that judges have given you from different showmanship competitions, and we try to put them all into play. And be careful, because sometimes, I don't know where it's coming from, a judge will want you to do something that to me doesn't make sense. And the bottom line is, think for yourself. And again, I'm different than others. I want to do whatever it takes to get that animal to look as perfect as possible in that ring without bringing too much attention to myself, or the showman, I should say. And that's that simple. I don't It doesn't bother me what necessarily the form is to get to that point. But if I can tell that it's effective, what you're doing, and that animal looks spot on, that's where it needs to be. And guess what? Every animal's not going to be the same. We're gonna have to work differently with each and every animal. Okay, but Brian, thank you. And what we're sharing on here, again, it is just our opinions and our pet peeves. It may work for other judges. So take that all into consideration. And the biggest thing that I can tell you is just think about it. Anytime somebody tells you to do something, think about whether that makes sense or not, or ask, well, why is that going to benefit?
Except for chewing gum.
How does that?
There's no exceptions. There's no nothing.
Spit that one out. Mm-hmm. Okay, do you have a sponsor for question and answer?
I do. I didn't think you were done. So,
yes, you just got to dig up. Would you like me to tell you who it is?
No, basic.
Our friends over at Leonard Truck and Trailer.
Leonard Truck and Trailer.
Health.
Yeah, Leonard Truck and Trailer is the sponsor for this week's question and answer. For over 60 years, Leonard Truck and Trailer has been the trusted trailer expert for hauling champions to victory. For journeys that go beyond the rain, Leonard Truck and Trailer offers the largest selection of every type of trailers by 40 manufacturers, including low-pro stock shows trailers and living quarter stock trailers. The trailers are designed with excellence and comfort, so you arrive in style while ready to compete. Haul with confidence, wherever the road takes you, featuring a nationwide concierge service and warranty administration. Leonard Truck and Trailer offers industry-leading financing, nationwide delivery, trade-ins are welcome, and plus they can create and install custom vinyl graphics for your trailer, and they have a full line of apparel and hats to promote your farm and ranch. Visit Leonard Truck and Trailer at leonardtrailers.com and tell them you heard about them from Beyond the Ring. We thank you, Clint and Tiffany Leonard, Leonard Truck and Trailers, and Basic Animal Health for all that you do for the BTRJLA and being the question and answer sponsor of the podcast.
Thank you for the support. Greatly appreciated. The first question is a little bit of a statement that I'm going to shorten. I'm going to paraphrase, so I hope I get it right and I do not offend our person that submitted this, who is Brian. While I understand your point on not showing an animal to the breeder that raised it. In other words, if somebody buys a goat from me or a calf, and I'm judging a show, ideally you don't show to me. I tell people that if it's a jackpot or
fairly obvious. So I can't wait to hear this question.
So I also, if they call and ask, I say, if there is no other options and this needs to be done, if it's a close decision, I'm going to put you a spot lower than maybe you think you belong in.
I want to hear this person's question.
Okay. I'll read it again. While I understand your point, it's more of a statement, but a little bit of a question. While I understand your point on not showing an animal to the breeder that raised it, you preach week after week that if you want to win, you need to know what that judge likes. What is going to be more in their wheelhouse of desire than what they've raised themselves? How does this come into
That
play
is the
then?
biggest amount of bullshit I have ever heard in my life. Seriously?
Oh my. Seriously, there's a little more to it, but
no.
Go ahead.
No, sir. No, you don't win. No. Mm-mm. Okay, first of all, if you have bought from this breeder and you know that that breeder's herd or what they sell and all that, then you should have a really good concept of their priorities because you've seen it in their animals and all this other stuff. So go take that knowledge and pick another animal to show to them instead of that one. No, sir. No.
So in Brian's defense,
no, there is no defense of Brian. There is no defense of Brian. There is none.
He's looking at the county fair level where he has noticed that the county fairs that have judges 2 years in a row that don't announce who the judge necessarily is the first year. So they show up and they use a certain kind of hog, and then all of a sudden it's maybe
Let me
a
guess,
local
he's
breeder.
going to say that they go and buy from that breeder for the next time?
He says that a lot of people will go do that.
No, there's no defense of them, Brian, either.
He's not saying they should. He's making a comment that many do.
There is no defense of them either. No.
But it does happen. I acknowledge it happens. So, yeah, I don't know if it's a question statement. I don't know where it all comes in.
I am just telling you, it is all bullshit. It is all bullshit.
I'm with you. The next one comes from Trent. Very short. What are your thoughts of sales management owning and partnering on cattle and selling semen?
Say that again.
What are your thoughts of sales management owning and partnering on cattle and selling semen? I can paraphrase for you.
I don't even know what the question
So
is.
sale managers, like we have sale managers. This is in cattle, people that will come in and manage your sale and help promote your sale. I believe they're getting at, what are your thoughts about them owning cattle with some of the breeders they're selling for and or
So
selling
they want to know
semen?
if the sale manager can own a part of the animals they're selling.
Yes. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about sale managers, I guess, just owning cattle with some of the breeders out there?
Well, I think that the sale manager is going to be much more motivated to sell an animal that they're going to get a kickback off of they own part of it. So I don't really understand what the problem with.
So I think maybe what's coming into play is their thoughts are, okay, here's a sales manager that owns bulls or donor cows or whatever with breeders A, B, and C. And
But not with
I'm
D.
paying them to I'm paying them to represent me, and clearly it's in their best interest to promote the others. I can see. I don't know that's where Trent was going. That's how I would interpret the question.
Well, see, I guess so. I see this more as a problem. Okay, I get what he's saying, that like if the sales manager, just like I said, they're going to be more motivated to sell one that they get more money out of. And so if that is your concern, then you use a sale manager that doesn't do that, because there got to be sale managers out there that don't do that part. And if that's your concern and that's what you want, that's fine. Go with it. I also don't really see a huge issue in the other, because the end goal for all sales managers is they're going to get a percentage from the gross, what the whole thing brings, whether that's 10% or whatever, what the wholesale brings. So they're going to try desperately to make every animal go as high as they can. So I really don't see any problem with it. But if you have a problem with it, then I suggest you use a sale manager that, says, I am not going to own any percentage of any animals or semens or any of that stuff. Those people have got to be out there somewhere.
Agreed. Perfect answer. You have the choice. You don't have to use that sale manager.
I mean,
they may be the more popular sale manager right now, and still, if they're going to do the better job than anybody else, I guess you have choice. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, but there's nothing stopping you or making you use that person.
Yeah, use somebody else. Because I mean, I see they have a valid point, but I also, in the end, the sale manager's goal is they're going to make money. And if every animal in that sale brings the most it possibly can, their percentage, their check is higher. So, what do I do?
Agreed. This one is addressed to Mr. Rash.
I'm going to shut up.
It's a long one.
Oh, good.
In regards to the integrity episode, here's a question. What responsibility do judging coaches and judging programs have, if any, to instill virtue in their judging students? We've all seen the brand new JUCO judge a jackpot and give it to his buddy who bought the animal from him, and in so completely discredit himself or herself, I'll add. These programs are developing the judges of tomorrow. Seems like they should bear some burden. Always enjoy your perspective and the podcast. Thank you, Kyle.
So, this is kind of like the last one. Kyle, I think you've got a point. I don't care if it's a JUCO or senior college or whatever. Those are the mentors of these kids, and you would want, just like any mentor, whether it's a broker, a breeder, or whatever, you would want them all to set a good example. And so that point is there, and I would hope that if you were a judging team coach like Dale has been, you would want to lead by example in this area. I'm not going to disagree with him that sometimes that doesn't happen. But my bigger point is in the end, it's that judge's responsibility. When you get off that team, whether it's JUCO or senior college, and you go out there into the world, no matter who your coaches were, what they did, what examples they set, what they taught you, what they didn't teach you, none of that matters, because now it's you standing out there by yourself. And you have to see how far you can rise, or you can see how far you can fail, depending on solely by your actions in a ring. So in the end, yes, I would like for everyone who ever judged a show, regardless of what they do for an occupation, to set a great example to other judges and future judges by being ethical and having integrity and all of those things. But that's not going to happen in all cases. And it goes back to you. You have to be the one. And so, while I get it, and I would hope they would, it's on that person in the end, and they have to do it.
Excellent answer. And I was going to leave this one completely alone, but I'm going to jump in because you made me think about this a little bit more with your answer. So I feel really good about the impact I've had in a lot of students' lives. I taught for 20 years and coached for 12 plus years.
Dale, you should go listen to the people that you've coached, because they have stories. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Let's leave that alone. Okay, so I feel good about the impact for the most part that I've had on a lot of those, especially the judging students or the judging kids. At the same time, there's some of them out there judging a lot of shows and big shows, and I by no means can take credit for some of the things that they've been able to develop and do. That it wasn't my guidance that has made them where they are right now. And at the same time, some that go out there and do a horrendous job, maybe not with the virtue that you would like, the judging coach doesn't have control over that either. Can you lead by example and set an example and get the majority of them to go that direction and be a positive influence as a judging coach? Absolutely. And I think most people that go into that arena as a coach, I hope that's part of their motivation. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But it does need to be there, because it's all part of that bigger picture. And I think they do have an impact. And I hope I have had an impact. I'm sure some would tell you positive, some would tell you negative. But I can assure you that I did my best to prepare them for that judging competition and the real world as best I could. So I think there's something to this, and very good question, Ryan. I think you summarized it extremely, extremely well. A little long today, Ryan. I told you this was going to be a long episode.
No, you told Clifton we would. I'm just done arguing with you.
With that, thank you for listening. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?